All right, what we're going to go over today is the quadratic formula. Basically, when we have a polynomial that has an x squared, the question might be, what value of x works? Solve for x, find the solutions, find the roots. That's another word that we use. So we're trying to solve, we're trying to figure out what values of x make this true. Well, we know from some of our lessons that this 2, the squared term, means there's going to be 2 solutions. The hard part is figuring out what they are. Well, there's a couple ways that we've learned to do this. The first one is to factor, and unfortunately this does not factor. It's not going to give me a nice pretty answer like 2 and 7 or something like that, so I have to find another way. That's why we use something called the quadratic formula. This is the formula right here, and this represents ways to solve for x, okay, to get my 2 answers. I actually get my 2 answers because you see here there's a plus and a minus. Now, if you can see over here, for this to work, your quadratic equation must be written in the right form. It has to say x squared plus x plus a number equals 0. Everything on one side, and then equals 0, kind of like I have right here. Now, a is always the value in front of the x squared term. B is always the value in front of the x to the first power term. And c is always the number that does not have x. All right, so I taught you in class ways to remember this. You are required to memorize this formula. You're going to need it in the future, so it's better to memorize it now. There are wonderful tricks to memorizing things. Some people just want to memorize it as it is. That's great. If you recall, I taught you how to sing it. You can sing it to lots of different ones, but the way we learned it in class was to row, row, row your boat. So we would remember it such as x equals negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Now, I said all over because we want to make sure that that division bar, fraction bar, goes under not just the square root, but also that negative b. It's very, very important. It could change your answer a lot. So, let's look at this problem. First thing you need to do is say, or ask, is the equation in the right order? Is everything in this format? Yes, it is. So, now I want to ask myself, what is a? A is the number in front of the x squared, so it's 3. What is b? That's the number in front of the x to the first power, which is, be careful, negative 2. What is c? It's this one here, 4. All right, now, plug it into the formula. X equals negative b. That means the opposite of whatever b is. B is a negative 2, so I'm going to write a positive 2. Plus or minus the square root of b squared. Be very careful when you put this in a calculator, okay? I am not just squaring the 2, I'm squaring the negative 2, so I need parentheses. Minus 4 times a times c. All over 2a. The rest is arithmetic. Not easy arithmetic, but it's just arithmetic. So let's figure this out. The 2 areas that you really need to deal with is 1, the denominator. 2 times 3 is 6. Got it. Now the harder part is figuring out how to simplify what's under the radical. Negative 2 squared means negative 2 times negative 2, which is positive 4. This number will always be positive. All right, my recommendation, because sometimes you're going to have extra negatives in here, and they will usually show up right over here. Multiply the numbers first. 4 times 3 is 12, times 4 is 48. Now figure out your sign. Positive times a positive times the negative is a negative. All right, I'm going to just bring this right up here. Okay, we have 2 plus or minus the square root of 4 minus 48 is a negative 44. All over 6. I think I just did that one in class today. Okay. Oh well. Okay. Normally you're done. At this point, many times you will be able to say, got it, I'm done, next problem. But you always have to look back at the square root and ask yourself, do I have a negative? I do. Can I break down 44? I can. So this kind of has everything in it that I need to go over with you. All right, let's see. Negative 44 is negative 1 times 4 times 11. And 4 is 2 times 2. I can cross off the negative 1. When you take it out of a square root, it's just I. 4 is 2 times 2, so you can cross that off and write a 2 on the outside. Let's clean this up just a little bit. 2 plus or minus 2i times the square root of 11 all over 6. Now, there's one more thing that I can still do. I know, I picked a bad one to start with, sorry. But at least you're getting everything that you could possibly be hit with. And you're normally not going to get hit with all of this. You're not going to get always hit with a negative under the radical, and you can break it down, and this can still be reduced. In your final answer, you should always ask yourself, there are 3 terms. Do all 3 parts have some number they can be divided by? I'm going to reduce a fraction, but you cannot just reduce pieces. You have to be able to cancel all of them or none at all. I'll show you an example in a minute. But here's a 2, here's a 2i squared of 11, and here's a 6. They can all be divided by 2. Oh, use the pink one. Divide by 2. Divide by 2. Divide by 2. And my final answer is 1 plus or minus I times the square root of 11 all over 3. I wonder if this is similar to the next one. Whoop! Saved it. You thought that was going to hit me in the head, didn't you? All right, let's see. I think I did this in class, and I think it gave me a very similar answer, so I'm just going to try a different one. All right, let's try, I'll keep that one up there, 3x squared plus 2x minus, oh my gosh, the other one was a 3 minus a 2x. Let's pick some different numbers. Get creative, Springstro. 4x squared plus 5x minus, I don't care, 8 equals 0. I have no idea how this one's going to turn out. We'll just wing it. So let's see what happens. X equals negative b. All right, let's see. A is 4. B is 5. C is negative 8. Okay, I don't have the formula up here again, so we have to remember it. X equals negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Negative b. B is 5, so negative b is negative 5. Plus or minus the square root of, how about I do this for you? X equals negative b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. All right. You know what? And if you sing it about 10 times just like that, you'll have it memorized too. All right. B squared, 5 squared minus 4 times A times C. I might need the handy-dandy calculator on this one. We'll see. All right. All over 2 times A. Let's see. Simplify. Nothing I can do with a negative 5. 2 times 4 is 8. Sorry, it's a little wavy. All right, 5 squared is 25. Now, I'm going to multiply backwards. Remember I said, forget the signs for a minute. 8 times 4 is 32. 32 times 4 is 128. Now, I have a negative times a positive times a negative, which gives me a positive, so I write plus. All right, negative 5 plus or minus the square root of 153. You would think that you couldn't break that down, but you can actually. 153 can be divided by 9. There's little tricks to help me figure that out, which that'll be another video. 9 times 17 gives me 153. And 9 is 3 times 3. So I can cross that off and write a 3 on the outside. So what do I have? I have a messed up marker. I have negative 5 plus or minus 3 times the square root of 17 all over 8. Am I done? I hope so. A lot of people might have thought they were done here, so you gotta try. Let the calculator help you. I can't divide by 2 or 4 or 6 or 8, but I could try 3. I know 5 won't go into it. Try a 7, try a 9, just to double check. Okay, do all 3 terms have something that you can divide into all 3? No, so I'm done. And that is the quadratic formula.